No lawyers. Oh my God, I am a lawyer, unfortunately. Do you know how a lawyer feels at IT conference? Horrible. Who cares? That's the response, that's the right one. But guessing by the number, my guess is that the legal topic is not the most popular. I will not do the typical lawyer's presentation. What I will try to do is I will try to look at all the stakeholders who are involved in the internet, technology, from a criminal law perspective. And what I mean is, if someone does something wrong on the internet, what can we do to go after those people? But before I start, this makes me think now about another lawyer's joke. I know about the internet, but it is, do you know what's the difference between a woman lawyer and a pit bull? Lipstick. I have no lipstick, so no biting from my side, guys. Don't worry about that. Before I start with more or less our legal discussion today, I want to talk about the fact that we do live in a digital revolution. And to describe that, I've chosen two pictures. They're taken at the same place, a different period of time. One of these pictures is taken in 2005 and the other in 2013. And you can see the difference. The difference between these two pictures are the number of cell phones which people were using while recording the Pope's speech. There is research that says that by 2020, there will be more devices. Each one of us will have minimum 5 different devices. That said, and combined with the fact that we use these devices to upload information about ourselves, to get linked into our social media accounts, that means that our data, our information is also vulnerable. I'm a teacher. I teach at different universities, primarily in France. I teach digital marketing and social media, but also ICT security. And I travel between Asia, Europe, and Africa all the time. If I need to carry all of my books, all of my calendars and stuff with me, my office is going to be pretty heavy. I wouldn't be making enough money to carry my office with me. So that's why I carry everything here. And you can see how our office is changing. Once a friend asked me, but why do you have the keys there also, keys of a car? And in my previous talk, I gave the example why, but I will share it with you guys. The reason is that you can make a hole in the car. You can take the wire up, you can connect the rootkit, and in 1 minute and 21 seconds you can create the third key. So our smart cars are becoming more and more vulnerable, and with the development of the driverless cars, this issue is going to stay on our agenda more and more. So this is the world we live in. Not that I'm a revolutionary person, now that I described all of my attitude as a lawyer, but we do live in this digital revolution. Because look at the terabytes of data which are produced every day and uploaded on the internet. We live in a world of total user empowerment. That means that we, the users, are the ones who create the content and upload the content on the internet. Look at the most successful business models, Airbnb, Facebook as a social media, when we are the ones who create the content for that business model. That means that all of that content is also vulnerable. But the bigger question is, from a legal perspective, are we really the consumer in this case? Or we are the product? I don't know what is your feeling and your perception about it. But let's look at our first encounter as users, as consumers on the internet. The first thing that we see, either we will download an application or we will sign up for social media, we will need to sign a contract. We will need to sign a contract with them. I don't know, how many applications do you guys have on your mobile phone? Because I started giving the example with the mobile phone. Pretty many. So you have that number of legal contracts on your phone. Those are all the different agreements. And do you know with whom you signed those agreements? Where are they located? You don't. And the reason why is because you probably don't read that. Something that I encountered, I didn't know that it exists, it is a policy generator. You can go, you can sign up for a service, and they will give you privacy policy for your business, terms and conditions generator, etc., etc., etc. I don't know if you've heard about this project. This tiny little website here, tosdr.org. Terms of service. I have read, I have seen, and I read the terms of service for this application. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the biggest lie on the internet, because none of us does that. Or if there is someone who does it, please excuse me for making you a liar. It makes me think about another joke. Do you know what is the difference between the lawyer and the liar? In the pronunciation. We never read that, which means that we don't know what the company is. First of all, we don't know who is behind that service. That's number one. Second, we don't know what data they will collect from us. And the third thing we don't know is what are they going to do with that data? And that's not simple, because anyone who wants to use that data can attack us. Another component, that's what I would like to look at, that piece of information which is very valuable, you can also find on this website, is how different platforms deal with law enforcement requests. We will talk more about cooperation between the service providers, because all of the platforms we use are called service providers, but later on. And you will also see evaluation of the privacy policy by the different service providers. And I have prepared some numbers. There is a very interesting study done by Carnegie Mellon about the cost of how much it costs to produce all of those policies. And because I cannot remember, here are the numbers in this research. 1,462 privacy policy a year a person should read. It's an American-based study, but it does relate to all of us. In the average, a study like that contains 2,518 words. That means that if we take the time to read all the policies we encounter by downloading applications, signing up for services, that will take 76 full working days. Do we have that time? I don't think so. That is calculated in hours for Americans, 53.8 billion hours, which cost 781 billion lost productivity. There is another study done by Wall Street, And it says how much it costs every American. It costs them $2,000 per household to produce these policies. And that, calculated annually, also for the United States, is 250 billion US dollars. Don't kill the lawyers. This is one of my favorite advertisements, which appeared in the 60s. And it says that there will be a day when we will be having driverless cars. Our life will be more safe. And we will live in a very safe world. Well, yes and no. Because to have all of that, to have all of the things connected, to take all of those advantages, that means data. That means that we do provide some data to someone. One of the latest things I encountered was that you can put a lock on your fridge. And every time at night, when you open the fridge, that lock will be connected with social media, which means that all of your friends in your social media, on Facebook, for example, will know that, for Christ's sake, ALBENA is opening the fridge at midnight. She will never lose weight. I don't use the lock, but I use the application, Nike application, and sometimes when I do my jogging, I share with my friends how slow or how fast I run. The message I would like to send to you by posting this advertisement and giving you this example is that we do provide a lot of data daily without even thinking about it. Another similar advertisement from the same period of time says that there will be very specialized units who will be countering these types of attack. This is how the law enforcement guys were looking like. And that there will be new type of criminals who will be the smart ones who will do these attacks on the platforms which we will be using. Well, yes and no. I worked for an online platform for many years, and I worked primarily on the criminal cases. And one thing that I learned is that very often hackers are recruited by the bad guys, and very often they use the services of hackers, even people who do commit traditional crimes, violent crimes. So in the cybercrime world, we don't have the people who participate in the bug bounty programs. We do have those who participate in the traditional crime, and they recruit the services of the smart guys. This is how we were sharing information throughout the years. But the only media which we have nowadays which unites all of these possibilities is the internet. This is not a test, ladies and gentlemen. We all know what it is. The thing is, we don't use it anymore. But the reason why I have it here as an example is because at the time when we were using typewriters, the text of a typewriter would be registered with the law enforcement authorities. So if a typewriter is used for legal purposes, they will know what model of typewriter was used to produce that text. When we are talking about the internet, we cannot make so easy judgments because we are using different devices, we access the internet from different locations, so it's very difficult to build a pattern. Let's go further. We all are using printers. Whenever we print a piece of paper, when it goes through our printer, when forensic analysis is done, based on how the yellow dots are located, each can say to what model of printer that paper was printed. But with the internet, Things are not that easy, because we also live in a world where machines are predicting, they're guessing what we would like to say. Al Gore said, "In digital era, privacy must be a priority. Is it just me? Or is secret blanket surveillance obscenely outrageous?" Do you have that feeling? Do you share the same thoughts as Al Gore did? Yes or no? The reason why I have it here is because I would like to give you another example, to be careful what we say in social media. I don't know if you've heard about this case. It's a case about two youngsters, British, a boy and a girl in their 20s, who were planning to go to the United States. And before going there, they were twittering, "We will go and destroy them. We will dig the grave of Marilyn Monroe." Anyone who knows British slang will know that by saying destroy doesn't literally mean go take a hammer, a weapon, and destroy someone. But do you know, can you guess what happened as a result of this? The United States Homeland Security captured that tweeting. And when these guys, planning to have a nice vacation, arrived in the United States, what happened to them? They were arrested. Not only, they stayed for 24 hours, and then they were sent back to the United States with a stamp. They can never enter the United States again. And this is what an innocent Twitter message can do to us. We all know who Eric Schmidt is. It's the Google CEO. And his famous phrase, "If you don't want someone to see something about you, you shouldn't have done it in the first place." Not that I share that, but I would like us to be mindful about the fact, especially considering that we are not reading what information is captured about us on the platforms we use and how that information is used. Have you heard these terms? Anyone who is in digital marketing here? Behavioral targeting, predictive targeting, premium proprietary behavior insights. Ooh, it's very difficult for my English to read them. But these are all terms that are used in digital marketing. This is how the information which we talked about is gathered, packaged, and sold. Have you guys heard about data brokers? These are some of the notorious data brokers. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's a business. But the data brokers know us better than we do know our partner. They know things about us that we have never thought they might, because they gather this information from all the sources, from all these terabytes of data which is uploaded on the internet, and they sell it. And they sell it to different one. Professor Lawrence Lessig, in his book, The Code, said, "The code is in effect the law." Code, I mean the code of all the application which we use. That's the law that governs our behavior on the internet. And actually, the law which is applied is any policy agreement which we don't read. Another place where we don't go, or some of us do go, is the dark market, the deep web. If years ago, Carter Planet was the most notorious place where the bad guys would go and they will buy credit cards, they will exchange other information with other people, now it's much easier. Now it's much easier because the information is not stored on one central location. Dmitry Golubyov, the person who administered Carter Planet, is now in Ukraine and he's registered a political party. But Carter Planet doesn't exist anymore. These are, from a recent report, some popular financial markets. And I see some smiles in the room. Maybe some of them sound familiar. But these are also places where we don't go. And these are places that they don't know any boundaries. And here is when I will switch to the legal part, because the laws which we apply, they are valid for one place only, for one jurisdiction only, for one country only, while cybercrime is international and knows no borders. The bad guys who would like to exchange information, they don't go, they don't have boundaries. So how do we deal with all of this? All the platforms we use, all the internet service providers we use, all the hosting providers we use, they capture information about us, about our location, about our traffic, about our tools, and that is called electronic evidence. But there are different types of providers. If you would like to know what is the IP address that someone has used, you will go probably to your local provider, internet service provider, and they will, and by saying you, law enforcement, and law enforcement will receive that data. But what happens about the multinational companies, those who are based in the United States, in the Silicon Valley? I'll open brackets here. By the way, do you know what Silicon Valley was known before it became the Silicon Valley which we know nowadays? It was producing 30% of the world production of prunes, the fruit. But nowadays, it's known for what it is. And I would like to make another reference because one of the colleagues talked about they will be the first country to do something. Well, in the Silicon Valley, when they created the companies, they said, we were jumping off the cliff and hoping we will learn to fly until we reach the ground. So I wish you to learn to fly fast, and good luck with what you're doing. Another question to ask ourselves is, in what jurisdiction is the data stored? As I said, we have the national providers and we have the multinational providers. On what devices the data is stored? Do we know how to extract the data? Do we have the expertise to extract the data without violating it? Because a lawyer can come and ask you how you took that data. What rules will apply? What happens if the data is encrypted? Then we are cooked. That's the answer. One of the international documents which provides the legal framework for all this illegal behavior online is the Council of Europe Cybercrime Convention. And this is a map with the blue are the countries who signed the convention and ratified the convention. So I hope, in order to be effective, as we are talking about international crime, I do hope we see more blue dots throughout the map. There are countries who do have legislation combating cybercrime that haven't signed the convention, but it is the only document, the only international convention which stipulates regulates this. And there are a few things to keep in mind. Laws must be precise, balanced, and predictable. What does it mean? That means that the law should be drafted in such a way that when technology changes, because technology is changing exponentially, as we know, the definitions which are adopted, the provisions which are adopted will be still adequate. We wouldn't need to change the law every single day or every single year, because that will make things more complicated. So we do need to have the necessary definitions. In this convention, it does provide the grounds for that. There must be conditions on the storage and access of data. That means if you have an internet service provider, internet access provider, for how long and what data do they store? And then what are the procedures in place which law enforcement should follow to obtain that data? And of course, there must be safeguards so law enforcement cannot abuse. They cannot just call and say, hey, I need this data, Peter. They will need to follow certain procedures to make sure they don't abuse their powers. And of course, the Budapest Convention, through these procedural powers, which are called data preservation, production order, search and seizure, monitoring and interception of data, are providing the basis for this. Even if we have the best laws in the world, but if we don't have well-prepared law enforcement officers, we don't have prosecutors who are specialized and understand, we don't have judicial authorities who will not push the computer, but they will embrace it and they will understand the issues, we cannot do anything. So we need, besides in the legal provisions, we need to invest in having well-trained and well-equipped law enforcement authorities, so sorry for this, as well as for prosecutors and judges. These are some examples of legal issues which are very important, but I wouldn't cover them now because that's more of a legal talk, and as we don't have lawyers in the room, there is no point to have this discussion, but those are very serious challenges when it comes to investigation and prosecution of cybercrime. And I will wrap up with two examples about the role of hosting provider. The hosting provider is able to identify the content and to hinder access to content which is illegal. So let's say if I would like to upload child pornography, they would be able to do that, as well as the access provider. The access provider is that service that gives us access to go and visit a website, enter a certain platform. We have access to a service, to a social media, etc. Lots of challenges, and the biggest challenges, I will just jump through this. And the biggest challenges come from the fact that some of those providers are located in a completely different jurisdiction. For example, those who are in the United States, they have regulations when they do, let me make a step back. When they're requested information by United States law enforcement authorities, there is certain package of data which can be provided. But if they're requested information from authorities outside of the United States, the steps that need to be taken and information which can be received is a bit different. The Council of Europe, to facilitate law enforcement, they have produced one document where they look at different providers, multinational providers. They look into their policies, someone has read that, and they look at the process through which they provide data. But it's very difficult. When it comes to blocking, this is another challenge, and blocking is usually discussed when we're talking about child pornography. Usually it's not an easy concept. It's not accepted by service providers because they say even if we block a content, it will appear on a different place. So there is absolutely no point going through the blocking phase. However, in one of the European directives combating child pornography, it is provided that service providers should be using blocking lists, especially when it comes to child pornography. The approaches are usually national and international. How are we with 2 minutes? 2 minutes. Okay, that's easy. An initiative I would like to bring to your attention. It's an initiative which we have in Bulgaria. It's called B2 Center. It's Center of Excellence where we work together with law enforcement, academia, and industry. We develop trainings and also prevention campaigns for end users, for industry as well. We organize also events like this. You can visit our site and see some of the research which we also do in this. But do you have any questions about what we discussed? This is my contact information, my email, and the websites of the Academy and the two center, one of the projects. Do you have any questions about the issues which I raised? No questions.
Thanks. So half minute we already spent while switching on the mic. All those things, as you said, legal issues are really coming into our everyday life, whether we want it or not. And techies in most cases don't want, but it's unavoidable. Here we have a lot of discussion about blocking, but not blocking in a sense of pornographic content, because I think nobody argues about that. And in most cases it should be taken offline rather than just use some kind of blocking. Here we have one law which suggests that illegal online gaming sites can be blocked, and it's up to internet service provider to decide how they block it. And the other thing which also state wants to give power to block is for those businesses that have problems with taxes, tax authority can decide to block their websites. And this is just first things. The feeling is that this is not going to stop there. From the technical point of view, from the point of people that know how internet works, we are very much against it. But lawyers probably see differently. So how do you feel about that kind of blockings?
No, I'm totally against blocking. And the reason is, you mentioned in your example the illegal gaming site. Who says that that site is illegal? It's just a regular person. In a democratic state, the individual who can say this is legal and this is illegal is the judge. Only the judge has the authority to say, all of us can say, I consider this illegal, but we don't have the grounds to prove it is. Who will take the responsibility if the regime, assuming that the blocking regime is that someone will report to the service provider that certain content, in this case illegal gaming, is illegal, and they take it down? Who will take the responsibility in that case if they take down a site which is legal? So, considering how the internet works, and knowing that even if you block a content, it will appear immediately on in a different location, I don't think that that is something that we should look into. Another thing, though, is what about hate speech? Hate speech, for example, is something that is taking massive, absolutely massive proportions. And not all hate speech is illegal. What might be hate speech for me might not be hate speech for you, or the other way around. But it is a serious problem. What do we do with that? What about terrorism propaganda through social media? Should we block that or not? The reason why I give this example is that there is not an easy take when we talk about blocking and responsibilities of service providers. If we have representatives from the service providers here, they will jump and they will say, that's not our business. That's the business of law enforcement, and it's their job to go after the illegal activity, whatever it is. Our business is to provide a service, and our money will be invested in providing a better service. So it's a very difficult discussion, and there is not an easy answer. My personal take to this is blocking is not resolving the issues, and I would rather keep a content that also law enforcement would be able to investigate from where that content comes from, etc. That it might be harmful to someone, of course, but I wouldn't take the approach of blocking content. Time for coffee.